There's a Gemara, Masechta Sanhedrin, famous Gemara, interesting Gemara. The Gemara says that there are two approaches, different Amiroim, different approaches, Tanoim, Amiroim, different approaches to the days of Mashiach. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabba, Amar Ula Yesev Lo Yechminei. Said, let Mashiach come, but I don't want to be there. I don't want to see him. What does it mean? He's not afraid of seeing Mashiach, but he's afraid of the events that are going to lead up to Mashiach. Rabba also said, let him come, but I shouldn't see him. On the other hand, the Gemara says, Rav Yosef Amar, Yosef ve'eske the Esav betula the chofisa the chamri. Yosef, a very, very interesting and powerful statement. He says, let Mashiach come, and that he says, he doesn't say I don't want to be there. On the contrary, he says, even if I'll end up being in the shadow of the most cleanest English word, the dung of Mashiach's donkey, I should be there, at least I should be able to see him. Then the Gemara says, just going to say outside, Abaye asks Rabba, what are you afraid of Mashiach, that you say that to let him come, I shouldn't see him? Because if you're afraid of the Chevli Mashiach, the birth pangs of Mashiach, but you know that Rabbi Elazar said that a person should, by learning Torah and doing Gemilas Chasadim, will be saved from the Chevli Mashiach. And he says, and you Rabbi, you have Torah, you have Gemilas Chasadim, right? The first page of Tanya, the Rabbi explains how great Rabbi was. So the Gemara says that what Rabbi was afraid, Shema Yikrei Machet. He was in a high level, he was afraid maybe he'll do something inappropriate, relevant to his level, relative to his level, that he won't be able to go through the Chavli Mashiach. And then the Gemara says the same thing. Rabbi Yechanan said, Yosef lo yichminei, let Mashiach come, I shouldn't see him. And he says it's going to be a whole, the Gemara discussed, the Shlakish asked him what's going to be so terrible. And then he says it's going to be a time that the world will be in turmoil. The Eibush is going to say that, who am I going to destroy? The Yidden or the Goyim? When Mashiach comes, like all the nations of the world, the Eibush is going to be a whole deal. It's going to be difficult to get rid of the Goyim for the Yidden. The Eibush will end up doing it, but it'll be a time of judgment, and he didn't want to be there. So first of all, there's a number of discussions here, and obviously there's Omek Lefnimi Yomek level, one deeper than deeper, but in the Pshat, what it means is very simple. Pshat, what it means is that the Amiroim, Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Ula, that were afraid, that said, let Mashiach come, I shouldn't see him, is because the Chavli Mashiach are very, the Rambam writes, it's so terrible that they didn't want to, they prayed to the Eibush, they shouldn't be around in that generation. There's another interesting word on this, same idea, but a little different wording, that they said, Yosef lo yichminei, they said, we know for a fact we won't be able to see it. Not that let him come and I shouldn't see it, but I won't be able to see it, I won't be able to live through it, so I don't want to be there. What's interesting, however, is Rav Yosef's response. Rav Yosef says, no, I'll be there, I'll end up being, who knows where, I should be there when Mashiach will come. So there's a number of biurim here. I'll start just to give a basic understanding of this Gemara. Let's start with the Maral's explanation of this Gemara. The Maral explains what is the reason why the Chavli Mashiach is going to be these birth pangs of Mashiach. Doesn't, by the way, have to mean the Gashmias. I mean the Ruchnias. You look at then the Masechta Saita, the moral and spiritual decay that will take place. I mean, you don't even have to open up the newspapers to see what's going on in the world. But it's not just physical, tragedies. It's physical turmoil. The world is undergoing a fundamental change. So you look at that in Masechta Saita. There's a moral decay that is, so to say, is a lead up to Mashiach. So the Maral explains what's going on over here. What's this concept that they're so afraid and there's going to be such a... So he says like this, the concept that he says is very simple, is that Mashiach is a new Havoy, it's a totally new type of world. And we know the general rule, from one type of entity to another entity, how do you go from one thing to a completely different thing? There has to be like a seed, you plant it in the ground, it's going to have to rot before it grows into a tree. So everything, the way David should set it up, to go from one thing, like we know Chassidus discusses a lot, to go from one, if you want to go from one level to a relatively closer level, you just go, keep on going. But if you want to reach a completely new heights, there's always the Yerida. There's always, you have to, so to say, lose the previous level in order to go higher. So there has to be change. Whenever there's change, it's not a good thing. Like we see, so there are ways of surviving the change. The Gemara says you should be involved in Torah and Gemulas Chasadim. But the world that's leading up to Mashiach will be such a crazy world that the whole fabric of society will be undergoing such a fundamental change that this is, so to say, part of the build-up to Mashiach. But the Tanaim and Amoraim, they said it's going to be way too much for them. They can't bear it. The happy Mashiach will come, but just they shouldn't be around at the time. We'll get to Rav Yosef's thing soon. There's another deeper pshat over here. It's Chassidish pshat, a very famous pshat said by a number of people. But it wasn't just that Rabba and Ula and Rabbi Yochanan were opting out. They said, you know what, it's too much for me, let me not be involved. It's a very deep pshat. What they said is a totally different thing. What they were saying is, if it's necessary for us to die, Rahman al-Islam, in order for Mashiach to come, we're ready to do that. Let him come, even if the price that we'll have to pay for Mashiach's coming is that we won't be able to see him, because we'll have to pass away to atone for the sin of the generation, whatever it might be. They were ready to undergo Mesiras Nefesh, to give their lives away for the coming of Mashiach. This is a much deeper understanding of what's going on over. Not that they're saying, let him come, but I don't want to be involved, keep me out of it. Punktfarker. They were saying that it's total self-sacrifice. In a very strong way, that let him come, even if the price will be that I won't see him. I'll have to, whatever it is, I'll have to be taken away from this world in order for him to come. So I'm ready for that to happen. By the way, Poskin point, it's a word that a number of Mefarshim say. We say in davening every day, our eyes should behold when you return to Tzion with Rachamim. So the we say we should see with our own eyes. So what about Ula, Rab, Yochanan? They were afraid to see it. So the answer is within the same line. That we daven the Mashiach should come with mercy. So Mashiach will come with mercy, then you won't have to go through all of this. So also this is brought down Lahalacha and Poskim, Rishonim already, a little bit different. But we say in Kaddish, what is the whole Kaddish davening for? The coming of Mashiach. Hashem's name, Skadal, Shmei Rab, Davish's name should be exalted. It's a pasuk that speaks about the more of Gog and Magog. Davish's name will become known throughout all the nations. So we say, the whole base should happen in our lifetime, in our days, in the days of all the Jewish people. So pasuk say, why do we add those words? Because Rabbah and other Amiroim were afraid of Mashiach's coming. It shouldn't happen during their lifetime. So we're asking the Eibusher that we should live through it. That we, it should happen. Nothing negative should happen to us. We should be alive. We should remain, should be able to survive the whole challenge of the times. But at any rate, there's a, so getting back to what I was saying before, that the Chassidish pshat here is that those that said, Yosef lo yichmine means let him come, even if the price will be, I won't see it. Alternatively, similar ideas that they were saying that they were not looking for Mashiach's coming for any personal benefit. As let him come and I won't see him means that I'm not looking forward to any personal gain that I will get out of it. I'm not looking forward to anything for myself. I'm looking just, that the Eibusher should get out of Golus, Yidden should get out of Golus. I'm not looking for any personal gratification. So, in other words, even if I don't see him, or even if I don't get anything out of it, I still want Mashiach. Now, what's interesting here is, what needs really to be discussed is the opinion of Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef has a whole different approach. He says, no, he has a whole different approach. Let him come, even if I'll be in the tool of the chufis of the chamre, even if I'll be on the in the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's donkey. So there's a few points over here. That Rav Yosef's words itself, you could, as many Maimonides Chazal regarding Mashiach, you could look. There's something to learn about how low the generation will fall, and also how high things will be. Let's understand Pashat physically. Tula the chofis of the chamre, the shadow. By the way, one source it says the shadow of Mashiach's, of the donkey, of the foot of Mashiach's donkey. It's one source that says it, but the standard source in our Gemaras is the shadow of the dung of the donkey Mashiach. So we're talking about a donkey. It's first of all, a donkey, chamor, the word chamor, donkey, is the same words as chomer, as physicality, coarseness, not just gashmis is the right word for physicality. Chomer means the coarseness of physicality. So a chamor, a donkey, represents the coarseness of gashmis. The tzoy of the chamor, the dung of the donkey, represents the garbage of the gashmis. Not just coarseness of gashmis, but the real filth, sheba filth. Then you have a third degree. What's the third degree? The shadow, the shade of the kofis of the chamri, of the dung of the donkey. So someone says the word, he says the shadow, the shade has no entity to it. Dung smells, it's disgusting, but it has some substance. A shadow has no substance to it. It's a shadow of garbage. It's even lower than garbage. So in other words, the moral, spiritual, whatever you want to call, level of the generation will be so low that it will be compared not just to a donkey, not just to the dung of the donkey, but to it's garbage that has even absolutely nothing to it. It's full of bluff, but anyway, so it's the shadow, the shade of the dung of Mashiach's donkey. So he's saying the generation before Mashiach's coming will be. So he says, nevertheless, I would rather be there. Abi should see Mashiach's coming. So that's one explanation of what he's referring to with the shade of the dung of Mashiach's donkey. But the Rebbe spoke a sikha. Before I get to the Rebbe's sikha, there's a few other points I want to mention regarding Rav Yosef. The Rebbe gave a very geschmack beer in Rav Yosef. The Munkacher was known, he was very into Mashiach, and he was also very into having Mesiras Nefesh and Mashiach to come. He used to stand in the shul and scream, "Are you guys ready to have Mesiras Nefesh? Abi Mashiach should come." So he focuses on this Gemara, and he says, as I mentioned before, that standard Chassidish Pshat, said by a number of Chassidish Rebbes and others, is that those Amiroim that said, "Let Mashiach come," they shouldn't see him. Then they're not expressing, they're not trying to, disassociate themselves from the problems that will accompany Mashiach's coming. On the contrary, they're happy Mesiras Nefesh. They're saying, "No, let him come, even if I'm going to have to die. Even if with the ashes of my bones, that's going to be the spark to bring Mashiach's coming." They were ready to do that. So if so, what greater Mesiras Nefesh could you have than that? What is Rav Yosef saying? No, I will be there. So Munkacher says it like this, of words. He says, what's greater Mesiras Nefesh? A person that gives away his life. So he gave away his life, taka, fine, but now, once he gave away his life, he's in Gan Eden, beautiful. Or somebody that's there with the Yid, and he's suffering along the day-to-day challenges, going through Ikvus of the Mashiach, and he's trying to help them out. Mesiras Nefesh of dying, running, is a very high level, but in a certain sense, you're running away. Beautiful, you have Mesiras Nefesh, but you're not helping anyone, you're running away. You're helping spiritually, it helps that the Mesiras Nefesh that you have. But are you involved with the people? No. Rav Yosef says, no, that's not my avodah. My avodah is, I'll sit with them, I'll be there, even in the lowest, the bottom of the barrel, to help them out to bring Mashiach. That's a much greater Mesiras Nefesh. You're not dying a one-time death, whatever it is, to atone for the sin of the generation, to bring Mashiach, but you're living through the day-to-day challenges in order to help him bring Mashiach. That's in a certain sense a greater Mesiras Nefesh. Sometimes it's more Mesiras Nefesh to live for the Eibishter than to die for the Eibishter. That's more or less the Nakuda, the idea the Munkacher explains what Rav Yosef was saying. There's another word. a little similar, but little from a little bit of a different angle from a Bashar of Stalin, son of Rabban Nagada from Kalin. So the Nekudas Advarim that he says, he explains. He says the two different. I mean, it's with this little bit of embellishment that was added to it, but the idea is that like this: two different types of tzaddikim. Some that are compared to a father, some that are compared to a mother. What's the difference between a father and a mother? When a child is dirty, he gets a very, very dirty diaper and it got all over the place. So some fathers are not interested in dealing with it. Let the mother deal with it. The child is fascinated. Al writes in Tani of Malach Chalav and Reiches B'Choyde Vas and says Yechidei, but that is such a musik. Mothers are the one that deal. They have to pamper the child physically, spiritually, take care of it. The father deals more when the child is mature and you could sit and teach him and educate him. That's when the father steps in. So he says a certain tzaddikim that they're compared to the father. They deal with those people that are, like mature children, people that need hadrach and avodas Hashem, people that are already interested in doing the right thing and they need guidance. They want to be taught ways of serving the Eibishter, how to the deeper dimensions of Torah. Those are the people they are involved with. The people that are verschmutzt with the dung of the donkey, it's not for them. Then you have tzaddikim that are compared to a mother. They're the ones that knell, they go down to the neshamas that are stuck in the shadow of the dung of the donkey, and they wash them and they clean them and they. So he says the add amongst the Amoraim, those tzaddikim, their main meaning says they themselves didn't necessarily need Mashiach. It says everyone, any Tana Amoraim that's mentioned in the Gemara is brought down had the koach to be Mechayim Mason. That's why I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it says someplace the Gemara doesn't say a name. So those that say, it doesn't say whom. If his name is not mentioned, it's because he wasn't on that level. Someone that's mentioned in the Gemara wasn't just a rabbi that got his PhD from some university, but was someone, you understand, for those people in their spiritual life, you maybe say, Al Derech, what it says in Chassidus, but Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that he wasn't missing Mashiach. Bruchnis at least. The Kashmirs, he had to run away. So those tzaddikim, for them, they look at the generation going to be so low, and thus they said, keep us out of it. We won't be able to handle it. Rav Yosef, on the other hand, he's from those tzaddikim that are compared to a mother, which means his whole job is to go down with the Jewish people, with those neshamas that need the most care and love, and that are fell down, that are stuck wherever they are. And he says, no, my avodah is that I'm going to go down with them, those people that are stuck in the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's Chamor, to help them out. So again, this is another idea of, we'll all, I guess, relate to it in some way or another, of the differences of approach between Rab and Rav Yosef, or the other Amoraim and Rav Yosef. The Rebbe says a very geschmack sikh on this. Was Erev Chag HaShavua Tov Shel Lamed Vav. The Rebbe spoke was a hadron of Masechta Seita. But then the Masechta Seita, it says that when Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi passed away, so the Gemara Mishnah mentions there are different things. When this Tana passed away, this stopped, that stopped. So to say, the spiritual decline that happened when the Tanoim were passing away. So it says when Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi passed away, Botla Nova Viras Chet, humility and fear of sin stopped to exist. Obviously, there's still humility and fear of sin, but that level of humility and fear of sin that Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi had, that didn't exist anymore after he passed away. Or it's hard to find, whatever Botla means. So the Gemara says, Rav Yosef had someone that used to learn in front of him the Mishnah. So he says, don't read the words, don't read in your version of the Mishnah that Anova, the humility stopped. Why? Because I'm around. It seems to be just the opposite of humility. That's a separate discussion. The simple answer is a true humble person doesn't mean that he's oblivious of his qualities. True humble person, true humility doesn't mean that means you don't feel that anything that you have is your own mila, but doesn't mean you're unaware of the fact that you're humble. But anyway, he says, Atisna Nov Dikana. So the Rebbe says, the Rebbe connects this over here with like this. He says, the Rebbe doesn't, maybe adding a few words here and there, but the Rebbe says, other Ta'amiroim, Rav Yosef says a very powerful statement. He says, I will sit by the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's donkey. I guess that will protect him in order to see Mashiach. Which basically means, in simple English, he's saying Mashiach will come. It could be that where's he going to be? Right now, Rav Yosef is Rav Yosef. He's one of the leaders of the generation. But when Mashiach will come, he's going to be compared to Mashiach. He's going to be sitting in the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's donkey. So not all other Ameroim were ready. When Mashiach will come, there'll be such a fundamental change, and people will lose their stature compared to Mashiach, compared to the new revelation will take place. Not everyone is able to really say honestly that they're ready to be at the bottom of the barrel. When Mashiach will come, they'll find themselves at the, compared to Mashiach, compared to Revelation, all the way at the bottom. They should see Mashiach. But Rav Yosef was able to say this, because Rav Yosef was true humility. Didn't bother him. He meant it with a emes. He was able to say honestly that even he understood, and according to his understanding, when Mashiach will come, he won't be the Rav Yosef that everyone knew until now, but he's going to be, relatively speaking, sitting in the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's donkey compared to Mashiach. He was ready to be there. Abi should see Mashiach. So according to this understanding, the Rebbe doesn't specify that, but maybe, I think I saw other people saying a similar word. The other Tanaim Amoraim were saying, when Mashiach will come, we're going to lose our Metzias. People are afraid of Mashiach. Why are people afraid of Mashiach? There won't be any more the chief rabbi or the chief whatever financial officer or whatever it is. So the truth is, people don't have to be afraid of the words for their ego. I saw a vart. I think it's very important. The vart the Chazer of David of Talmud was a son, one of the children of Maternal of Chernobyl. So I think one of the Mishamshim, something made a statement to him like, how are we going to look when Mashiach comes? We're going to be embarrassed to greet him. So they want you to go out and tell people, it says that when Mashiach will come, there'll be such a Gilia Lakus in the world that even the most simplest, lowest Jew will be able to reach such great heights that he'll be able to go over to Mashiach and greet him. People shouldn't think, there are different statements of daily Yisrael from both sides of the spectrum. But people are afraid of Mashiach. It says, Mashiach will come, the whole world will be elevated. Might might lose your yeshus, you might lose our, our self-feel, but anyway, we'll call it from the other Amaroim to say that they're ready to go, that they'll be ready to be, relatively speaking, compared to Mashiach at the bottom of the barrel. They weren't ready. But Rav Yosef, he was a true one. He was able to handle it. The Rebbe says, what's taich? The Rebbe spoke a whole thing about the bottom, the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's donkey. Basically, what the Rebbe says, similar, the Nekudas had about a real in a certain sense. The Maral says a similar thing. The Maral says when Mashiach will come, the world will be on such a great higher level that even until now we were discussing the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's donkey, all in a negative sense, how spiritually low the generation will deteriorate to. But the Maral says, Mamash Leipach, he says when Mashiach will come, the level of in the Mashiach's world, what Rav Yosef is saying, that even the lowest level in the times of Mashiach, what we would call, relatively speaking, the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's donkey, even that will be on a very high level. It says he's ready to be at the bottom of the barrel, but it's still Yemais HaMashiach. It's much greater than the highest level we're in now. So but anyway, the Rebbe says the Geshmak of it. The Rebbe says, so when Mashiach will come, the world, the Bible says, the Gemara says, Mashiach comes, the Eibush's will be one, his name will be one. So the Gemara says in Psachim, what does it mean, the Eibush's name will be one? Now, the Eibush's name isn't one. So, the Gemara says that now, the way the Eibush's name is written is not the way the Eibush's name is pronounced. It's written Yud Kei Vav Kei. How do we pronounce it? Adnai, Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. Only the Beis Hamikdash, the Kohen Gadol, whatever, was able to say the Shem HaMeferish. When Mashiach will come, throughout the world, we'll be saying the Eibush's name the way it's written. What does that teach us about the state of the world? The Rebbe says you could imagine if the name of the Eibush is only able to be said in the Beis Hamikdash, will be said throughout the whole world, must mean that the whole world will be refined. first of all, that tells us, there'll be massive transformation taking place. What the Rebbe was focusing on, that it means that even the lowest level, even the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's donkey, the Chumriyas Ha'olam, the lowest levels will be elevated to the extent he'll be able to say Mashiach, he'll be able to say the Eibishter's name. So the Indian of Rav Yosef saying, in other words, he's basically saying, the Rebbe didn't explain too much, but he says the shadow of the dung of Mashiach's donkey will be protecting Rav Yosef. That's what he's basically saying. That's what simple reading of the Gemara is. I'll sit there. I'll have to sit there in order to see Mashiach Hamedi, meaning that he'll be protected from whatever negative things are happening from the dung of Mashiach's donkey. What's that? Eske Veise betul the chufs of the Chameri. Fine. So the Rebbe used the lotion of the Rebbe teaches us over there that the mashma that the idea of sale. What's the idea of sale of a shadow? So we know that a shadow is, like famous expressions. Sale shaka yisleinon, you protect yourself from the shadow of the Eibishter, whatever. The shadow is a term. It's a lot of times used to be protected under something. So in other words, he's saying is that even that low level, when Mashiach will come, will go through such a refinement that will be able to protect Rav Yosef. So the Rebbe says, which brings out the idea of the Birur Ha'olam. So the Rebbe connected it very much with Rav Yosef, and the Rebbe also connected it very geschmack. This Rav Yosef said, I should see Mashiach. Rav Yosef, people are going to raise questions over here, but that's what it says. Rav Yosef was blind. How was he blind? He made himself blind. He made himself blind. He didn't want to have the nisyanis of Elam Haza. So he went into a cave, which was very dark. And then he asked that you bring in front of him very bright stones. And the contrast of the light and dark that his eyes were exposed to blinded his eyes. That was, whatever, people ask questions, it's a separate discussion. How, what, where, when, how. Rav Yosef did that. And that's why it says Rav Yosef, the poskim meno Yetzer Hara, right? Rav Yosef, he made a sudu and he didn't have a Yetzer Hara. So Rav Yosef, by him, was the avodah of trying to refine the lowest parts of the world. Rabbi connects it also that Rogachover says that the dung of a donkey used to be used in Eretz Yisrael to heal a baby from his bris milah. The Rabbi says, Rambam says, what's the reason, one of the reasons of pshat of a bris milah is to minimize, to be machlish, to weaken the taiva that's associated with that eva, with that limb. So the dung of a donkey, which a donkey represents, represents really not a holy thing. But we see the dung of the donkey is connected to heal. The bris milah means it shows in some type of tikkun, some type of refinement that it has, that its poil helps the bris milah, which in is to refine that particular desire that's connected with that limb. So Rav Yosef, he did that avodah b'shleimus. So he said that for him, he looked at Mashiach's coming, that even the lowest levels will be completely transformed. So he wants to be there, and then he used the Rebbe says the Geshmak Avert, and he says, and I should see him. What means I should see him? Now he's blind. Why is he blind? Because the way the world is now, he doesn't want to see the world. When Mashiach will come, even the lowest levels will be refined, so then I'll be able to see him. My eyesight will be returned to me. Fine. This is more or less some of the nekudas that are discussed on this Gemara. Just want to finish off because as far as the 3 weeks. Just want to discuss one thing negaya the laws of the Beis Hamikdash. So we all know discussion who's going to build the Beis Hamikdash, Mashiach or the Eibishter, the different. One of the ways how it's reconciled, the Rebbe mentioned it also, is that there'll be a physical Beis Hamikdash built by Mashiach, and within that physical Beis Hamikdash will be a spiritual Beis Hamikdash will come from heaven. Just this interesting, there's a Shir HaShirim, there's a pasuk, the end of the first capital says, Kodesh Botenu Adozim Reitenu Broisim. So there's a Targum over here, says that King Shlomo HaMelech was saying, Shir HaShirim, he says that the Beis Hamikdash that I built is Kodesh Botenu Adozim, was built, the roofs was made out of cedar trees. But he says, but the Beis Hamikdash was built in the days of Mashiach, He says the roof will be from the cedar trees of Gan Eden, and the floor will be from Vrasei Shanei Shurbanei. The Samach Tzedek and Zayra HaTorah on this pasuk in Shir HaShirim, he discusses a lot this Targum, and basically explains there's all different types of cedar trees, but he goes through a whole cheshbon and comes out and he says that the floor of the third Beis HaMikdash will be made of more prestigious cedar trees, even than compared even to the roof of the first Beis HaMikdash. In other words, the lower level, the lowest level of the third Beis HaMikdash will be higher than the roof of the first Beis HaMikdash. Explains up Chassidus what it is, but think it is we should see it and have it. Ankenag Masnefesh, like of Miyad Mamish.